everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Retro Wrestling Review. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, and we are on a roll because once again, I am joined by my co-hosts, none other than Josh Briley and Richard Mullikin of P3 Radio. Guys, welcome back once again.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Man.
It's nice here. The weather's nice. The shows are fun. So we're looking forward to being a part of this show again, man. Great show coming up today.
Oh, man, we're going to have a lot of fun today, guys. I'm really psyched about this one. So rather than rambling on too much at the beginning, we're just going to get right into this. Corey Macklin lets us know right out of the gate that we have a new Southern Heavyweight Champion in there, Jeff Jarrett, and he's here today. PG-13 are going to be in action once again today, and we'll see Doug Gilbert taking on Dirty Dutch Mantel right here on the show. So that's a match I'm looking forward to. Plus a couple of fun surprises along the way. So you know how we get it going here on USWA Championship Wrestling. We say that, and then we go immediately to a commercial break. And so when we come back from that first break, we're going to take a look at Jeff Jarrett winning that Southern Heavyweight title last Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum. So let's take a look at that right now.
Speed though, back behind, and Christopher whips him in hard. Jeff comes out with a right hand, and again, look at Jeff Jarrett go. Nails away on Christopher, whips him in, big drop kick sends him down. Jeff Jarrett, boy, going to work. Look at Christopher. Jarrett went for the drop kick, and he pulled referee Frank Morrell into it. Jeff caught Frank with a drop kick in there. Prentice has got Jarrett. Christopher's got a chain over here. Oh, and he nails Jeff Jarrett with it too. Sends Jeff down. Covers Jeff. Jarrett's up. Back behind Jeff Jarrett. He's on his feet. Look at Christopher, would you? Just kicks referee Frank Morrell back down in there. Look at Jeff. Flips him over. Sets Christopher up. Oh! He pulls out behind Christopher. 1, 2, he got it! Yes, sorry! 10 minutes, 51 seconds. We've got a new Southern Heavyweight Champion, Jeff Jarrett.
I don't know that I've ever heard Corey Macklin more excited about something than when Jeff, he got it. It's like Joey Styles all of a sudden. What do you guys think of that?
Dude, supreme fucking action, man. Like, it was just, oh my God, like at the end, like just to add the little cherry on top and just for the chaos of the situation, when Frank Morrell's making that slow ass count, Burt Prentice has a leg and he starts pulling on the ass of Frank's pants and just trying to stop the count. And it's still not working. 1, 2, 3, new Southern Heavyweight Champion, man. I love it.
I like the fact that they didn't have Jeff move. Like, you know, we've all seen that thing where the manager's holding the guy and at the last second.
I would have bet everything I own that Jeff was fixing to move and he was going to clock Burt Prentice.
Yeah, and then Jeff like hulked up, blocked a pile driver, and gave him one of his own.
Beautiful pile driver, man.
Here's a question, though. If the kiss from Jeff Jarrett with that drop kick, that just little kiss that he gave him, knocked Frank Morrell down that long, why did the boot in the back from Brian not do anything to him?
That's a fair question, but I did love that he turns it around. He's like trying to get him to get up, and then when he sees that Jeff's getting up, he immediately just boots him right to the back, puts him back down. That was great. But if the referee had been Kevin Christian, I don't know that we'd have had a new champion because Burt Prentice would have snatched him out of that ring with one hand. But because it was Frank Morrell, using both hands, Burt could not budge him to get pull him out when he was making that 3
canvas.
Yes, but that was I like that finish. I like the whole scenario, and like I say, I love Corey's enthusiasm when the title changed. He's like, "He got him!" So in this episode, I'm going to point it out now. It's almost like somebody has heard our last few episodes and has somehow gone back in time 30 some odd years and altered history, because there's things that happen here that's almost like they've heard our gripes and they're tweaking some things, or they've heard some of the positives, because our very first match today is a rematch of what Josh said was his favorite part of the show recently. We're going to see another match between Jeff Jarrett and Reggie B. Fine. Now, it's going to be a non-title match, but once again, it's a fun match, and I felt bad because that was Josh's favorite match on that show, and like an a-hole, I didn't even put a clip of it. So this time I do have a couple of highlights from the match. Jeff Jarrett taking on Reggie B. Fine.
Fine backs him up against the ropes, whips Jeff in. Good shoulder from Jeff Jarrett. Oh, here he goes again. Has Reggie B. Fine ever been in a wrestling match he didn't claim he had his hair pulled? Boy, you talk about miracles. That's a miracle. Jeff Jarrett pulled Reggie B. Fine's hair, yeah. This is the hole on Jarrett, and Jeff goes back around him again behind him. Reggie B. Fine backs him up and whips him in. Shoulder from Jarrett and sends him down hard. Oh. How's it looking, Reggie B. Fine? He said he pulled his tights there that time.
Well, Reggie B's credibility has suffered. I mean, when a man with no hair comes out and immediately claims his opponent pulled his hair, your credibility just kind of,
it goes down to about zero. And he got a good-looking win here. What's Reggie B? Oh, boy. Missed him that time after whooping Fine into the turnbuckles. Reggie Fine goes after Jeff Jarrett now. Whips Jeff hard into the turnbuckles. Kind of stretch around and grabs a hold of Jeff and whoops him into the other side. Goes in and catches a boot from Jeff Jarrett. Fine turns around. Jeff's on the top rope. Fine press on him. He got him. 1, 2, 3. The USWA Southern Heavyweight Champion Jeff Jarrett gets the win.
So some fun antics there from Reggie B. He's always getting that hair pulled. It's a shame.
And the tights somehow on a shoulder block.
That's what makes it so fun, is he gets his hair pulled. He doesn't have any hair. And then he claims got his tights pulled on a shoulder tackle.
I don't even know how that would work, Reggie.
But kind of like y'all pointed out last time, I find it amusing how entertained the announcers are by, like, Dave and Corey both seem genuinely amused with Reggie in these matches. And so we see once again, I think perhaps Reggie's like, man, I can't take that goofy ass DDT you do. Just give me a crossbody, because that's 2 matches in a row where Jeff has finished him off with the crossbody and not his infamous leaping DDT that Richard's such a fan of.
Terrible. It's terrible.
So, all right. So, we see the title win. We see a non-title win over Reggie B. And then we inexplicably cut to a video. Now, Richard was telling me before we went on the air that the version of this show that he watched didn't have the sound for this video. They cut the music. But the one that me and Josh saw that I put on the YouTube channel, it actually has the music. And I thought, just a little bit of insight here. When you upload these videos to YouTube, sometimes immediately, sometimes a few days later, you'll get, an email saying, hey, there's copyrighted material in here, and it'll be music. If there's any WWF clips in there, I'll usually pick those out. That's why a lot of times, like probably last week, you guys might remember, it said, all right, let's take a look at this Giant Gonzalez video. And then immediately it cuts right to Dave and them talking, all right, well, there you saw the Giant Gonzalez. That's because I had to cut out the entire video, or it was going to be a copyright claim against us. But it'll give you the option when it finds copyrighted music. You got a few options. You can just leave it, and your video won't be seen in certain areas. Like the WWF clips, usually it'll show it everywhere, but like Russia, Indian, the Bhutan, whatever the hell that is. There's like 9 regions that your video won't show in, and it's 9 regions that I assume that nobody watches the USWA podcast. So sometimes I let it go, but then other times it gives you no option, like it did on the Giant Gonzalez video. But anyway, for songs, it'll give you the option of either just muting it altogether so there's no sound, which I'm guessing that's what the person who uploaded the one Richard saw, that's what they did. And it also doesn't matter how long ago they uploaded it, because this didn't used to be an option. Then you got the option of replacing it with generic non-copyrighted music. That's the option I usually pick at random. So if you're ever watching these USWA shows and you're like, what? That song doesn't match up with what's happening at all. That's just because I randomly clicked on some dumb song that doesn't match up. But this is the song. When you listen to this, folks, when you watch and listen to this video, just realize that this is the song that Jerry Jarrett intended for it to have, or whomever edited this video together. Now, if you're just listening to this, I say this usually once every week, but I really mean this, and I think Josh and Richard will back me up on this. If there's ever a reason to go to YouTube and watch the video cast of this particular episode, this video alone is it, because it's so odd. So let's check out the video. I can't wait to hear these guys' feedback on this video, and I can't wait for you guys to hear the odd choice of music. Because keep in mind, this is Jeff Jarrett. This isn't the all-American Lex Luger. This isn't Sergeant Slaughter. This is just good old Jeff Jarrett. So let's check. Well, we're having technical.
Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties, oh, the fruited plain. Well, now wait a minute. I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed His grace on thee. He crowned that good. Yes, He did. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea. You know, I wish I had somebody to help me say this. America, I love you, America. You see, my God, He done shed His grace on thee. You ought to love Him for it, because He crowned that good. He told me He would. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I thank You, Lord. Shine.
Oh, 42 takes and they couldn't get the kid making the shot.
So my favorite part of that is when they cut to the basketball court. I'm like, Jeff Jarrett's recreating the Too Cold Scorpio WCW music video right now.
Yeah.
Like, these kids are gonna be like, oh, we gonna walk to school, and he's gonna like, ha ha ha, we're gonna Fargo strut to school, kids. But we didn't get that, unfortunately. We want to go to the game room.
The two things that stood out the most, though, about that was when he does the all right, so let's just be honest. Jeff took a vacation and he brought back all the clips from his vacation, and they were like, we should put that to Ray Charles's America the Beautiful and just throw in one wrestling clip, you know.
Yeah.
And the one wrestling clip they throw in, he drops a fist on the guy. It looks like the guy has a seizure. And then we're treated to a very close and personal view of the guy's taint and ball region. It's like,
I've never seen a jobber struggle so hard to kick out of what was clearly the finish, because that guy was kicking with everything he had. And it was not making the part you just mentioned any better. That was making it much worse.
It's like he's a shaver.
Oh,
Like, what was the space shuttle? That to me is the most bizarre aspect. Like, what does Jeff Jarrett and a space shuttle taking off have to do?
My thing is, you keep having the American flag in the background, and I said to Richard, was like, he's going off to war. This is a send off. We just should do a tribute video to him when he gets back. But like, this is March. This is not near like Memorial Day or 4th of July or anything like that. But I guess, you know, we need a patriot, man.
Was it just me, or did they put the same clip of him petting his dog awkwardly in there? Like it was the same clip.
Yeah, twice. Like you couldn't do something different with the dog. Maybe throw the stick. All you can do is walk right up and put it in his mouth and pet him.
He's a blind dog.
But yeah, with all the American flag stuff in my head, the first time I watched this is like, we're going to come back and Tojo Yamamoto is going to attack him with a kendo stick and introduce the latest, Japanese guy who's on tour from Japan over here, or, God forbid, in 1993 we're going to have a Russian show up and attack or something. Like, no, that's not what's about to happen at all. Like, what's about to happen has nothing to do with this video. But of course, what's about to happen. It's time to take another break. So we go to commercial break. And when we come back from the commercial break, we come back to more Jeff Jarrett. Like, this is my biggest complaint about USWA since we've been watching it, is their ability to space things out. Like, all right, we got a 90-minute show. Can you not break these segments up where we're not watching the same guy in like 3 to 4 segments back to back? I mean, we saw that one show 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was like Brian Christopher for like 40 minutes of the show. He was in every segment. And I like me some Brian Christopher. I like me some Jeff Jarrett. But holy, like, do we need it back to back to back to back again? I mean, am I just being a jerk? Am I being too, critical? Or what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think some weeks they just probably had 5 people show up for the show. Like, honestly, I
get that, but when you finish watching the show, you realize there's other segments and there's other guys. Now maybe they hadn't gotten there yet. I mean, surely Jamie Dundee wasn't late, but
I feel you, Gene. Like, if you're gonna have a guy on 3 times, maybe do it beginning, middle, end, not necessarily first 3 segments, and then he's never there again. Like, they could be spaced out and placed a little differently for sure to not ruin the taste.
Well, it was like the Bruise Brothers last week were in like almost every segment. Like, they just kept coming back. And that was the biggest thing I hated as a kid. It was like, you didn't have any variety. It'd be like every time, if you saw somebody, you were going to see that person. It wasn't like a one and done unless it was like TD Steele or something. And there was always a shot TD might come back and do another match,
Yeah, it's happened. But I mean, in their defense, perhaps Jeff, he was going to have to immediately leave the studio to go pet his dog, and they had to fly a rocket ship to Mars, to go help children play basketball on Mars. I don't know, but
obviously the program's not working. Did you see the shitty shot on that kid?
Yeah, they need somebody besides Jeff, I guess, to teach him basketball. I don't know. Like,
George Goulish
on that instead of having 3 matches a show. But
the kid was probably really good at basketball before Jeff started working with him.
I just did what you said, sir. I don't know, but that's the most random. If they come up with a video more random than that, I can't wait to see it, because but those slow motion turns. And the funny thing is like, usually with those old Fabulous Ones videos and stuff, they'd have this huge smile, but Jeff looks so awkward. Like, he's like, should I be smiling? Am I supposed to be serious? And then he just come out with like, this was more of a creepy look than anything else.
Like you just clogged your toilet. He doesn't want you to know.
So now Jeff's back out here. He's going to do a promo, and Dave Brown points out that Scotty Flamingo from the WCW, and now this is another pet peeve of mine. I've always hated it when people say the WCW. And of course, Bret Hart was the most notable offender of that. And of course, I'm a big Bret Hart fan. But he'll, in the WCW. And I'm like, why do you put the in front of it? But that's just, again, it's nitpicking. But anyway, Jarrett talks for a couple minutes, and then Scotty Flamingo is actually here in the studio. I thought we were just pointing out that he was going to be there Monday night, but no, he is here. And I don't know about you guys. I've always been a fan of Scott Levy. I enjoyed Scotty the Body in Portland, and Scott Anthony in Global, and Scotty Flamingo in WCW, and Johnny Polo in the WWF, and especially Raven in ECW. He's had a lot of characters, if you don't get where I'm going with that. But where are you guys on Scotty? What do you think of him?
Well, I remember the first time I ever saw him was Scott Anthony in Global, and he was a standout there. You could tell like he was going to be somebody. I mean, he was technically before, but he went from there to WCW, and that was just like a stamp of greatness. Usually back then, if you made it to WCW, you were something. So seeing him back here, it's like, oh man, he's on another level now. He's back.
Yeah. He's a big deal. And after this, I enjoyed him as Johnny Polo in the WWF on commentary. I've got some old Coliseum videos where he's doing commentary with Gorilla Monsoon. And he kind of stepped into the Bobby Heenan role when Bobby went to WCW. Johnny Polo started co-hosting All-American Wrestling with Gorilla. And he would do some of these videos with Gorilla. And I always thought he was hilarious because he was so goofy in him. And, and he'd be like, he would mock all the cliches that Gorilla had used over the years. He'd be over there, look at him, Gorilla. He's like a man repossessed. He's like, it's man possessed. And he's like, whatever, Gorilla. You know what I'm talking about. And you could just tell he was getting under Gorilla's skin. If not, Gorilla was just really good at acting. But they were a fun combo. And you go back and listen to that now and then picture that, 2 years later, he's going to be Raven. It's like, wow, you talk about a character change. Holy. But let's hear what Scotty has to say here to Jeff Jarrett as he makes his, I guess, return to Memphis. I don't know if you guys remember this. I know you said you first remember him from Global, but his actual Memphis debut was around 1988. He was here as Scotty the Body in like his, I don't know, second year in the business. He was almost not quite an enhancement guy. He did a little angle with Eddie Gilbert, where Eddie Gilbert said he might promised him a date with Missy Hyde if he beat Lawler, and of course Lawler ends up pile driving him. So then he's out there in a neck brace the next week, wanting to know if he can get his date with Missy and all this kind of stuff. So it was kind of fun. That's the first thing I remember him from, but he didn't stand out like he did here. Let's check this out.
But with that open door policy, you don't get to rest on your laurels from the WCW Scotty Flamingo.
That's exactly right. Just like you said, you don't get to rest. Still out of breath, Dave. Don't get to rest very much because, it was a great win. But this isn't the first time I was a Southern Heavyweight title holder. And I know that the challenges keep coming in from the WWF. There's a list of guys that want to come in and challenge for this belt. There's a list, a bunch of guys from the USWA, names in the hat. And Scotty Flamingo from the WCW is in the hat.
He's here today, it looks like. Scott.
Let me say something, Jeff Jarrett. I hear you out here talking. You're talking about boards. You're talking about chairs. You're talking about stuff like that. The kitchen sink. Well, Scotty Flamingo, hey, shut your mouth. Scotty Flamingo does not need the kitchen sink or any of these other objects to beat you up. He was hold for hold, move for move, and counter for counter. Scotty Flamingo is the greatest wrestler in the sport today. I'm the former world light heavyweight champion from World Championship Wrestling. I'm the greatest athlete in the sport. Jeff Jarrett, you come out here, you got all your little fans.
Take your interview times in just a few minutes, and you can just march on out of here.
March out of here. Listen, let me tell you something, pal. I'm going to take your Southern belt. I'm going to take it Monday night in Memphis. I'm going to take the belt and put it around my waist. And you know what else is even better? Brian Christopher has come out, and he had to come out, but apparently there is a bounty. There's a bounty put out on you. So if I happen to injure you.
So Brian Christopher's got a bounty out on me.
I'm talking, Jared. You listen to me when I'm talking. I'm from World Championship Wrestling. You're just a little local star here. You're a local hero. I'm a national star. I'm a main event on national television. You're a local star. You're nothing. So you listen when I'm talking. There's a bounty, and it sweetens the pot. So after I beat you and take the belt, if I decide to hurt you too, That's just a little extra money for Scotty Flamingo. Because let me tell you, I'm Scotty Flamingo, the fresh thing in town. Listen to these rhymes because I'm going to throw down. If you don't like me and you feel kind of froggy, well, jump in my face and I'll leave you groggy. I'm the king in the ring with a belt, not a crown. And when I'm in the spotlight, I'm the toughest thing around. You ever had to face me, you'll soon be leaving town because weevils wobble, but I don't fall down.
Okay, your response to that?
So we just debuted a tag team that we're going to label the hip hop tag team. They're rappers and all this stuff. So yeah, Scotty, why don't you come out here and do your little rap? Like, it's so conflicting.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't talk to each other in the back, but you thought you would think that Lawler or Jerry Jarrett, whoever's in charge this week, like, you know, somebody would say, hey, maybe don't do the rap, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I will give you a kiss if Dusty didn't come up with that gimmick and be like, he looked like Rico Suave, baby.
So funny you should mention that very quickly. Me and Ray Russell talked about this on a video cast, and he questions the timing of it all. But I remember watching one of those kayfabe commentaries DVDs, and they were actually discussing ECW. But Scotty points out that at one point, before he actually went there in 92 as Scotty Flamingo, he was trying to get hired by WCW, and he pitched Dusty Rhodes the gimmick of a white rapper, and he did some raps for him on the phone. And Dusty's like, well, I like it, baby, but I think got a spot for you right now. And then next thing you know, he's watching his TV and freaking PN News shows up. And then a year later, Dusty brings him in as Scotty Flamingo, and obviously the time has passed on the rapper thing. But I find that, you know, I don't know. Like I said, Ray was like, I don't know, man. That timing don't like exactly line up, but it kind of does, really, because that would have been a year before he actually came in, and you know, that's a Dusty thing to do. Because if I'm gonna have a rapping guy, I'm probably gonna go more the PN News than the Rico Suave thing, since he doesn't have the accent to go with it. Unless you tried to make him do a phony accent, which would have been entertaining, but probably not in the way that they needed or intended to. But past the rap there, Jarrett tells Flamingo, in Memphis, we don't talk. We do our talking in the ring. Now, we have a lot of episodes that would disprove that theory. We do a lot of talking in Memphis. We do mostly talking on this TV show in Memphis. What are you talking about, Jeff?
Just look at the worn out floor tile from where Dave has walked back in front of the desk and back to his seat at the desk. They talk every other segment.
Yes, I mean, the show is mostly talking, so I thought that was pretty funny. So Jeff challenges Scotty Flamingo to come get in the ring with him. And initially, at least, this didn't go the way that I thought it would go. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that, all right, well, Jeff's going to clean his clock. Somebody's going to have to come in and save him. But check this out.
Well, I guess that's supposed to impress me, big boy. But here in the USWA, like I said, we're not in Atlanta, and we're not in New York City. We're in Memphis, Tennessee. So we don't talk around here. We do our talking in the ring. So come on, we ain't got to wait for Monday night.
All right, there's the challenge. It's open right here. The ring awaits. There's a referee.
Apparently, I'm going to have to humiliate him right here in Memphis in front of local fans on a local television set. A big national star is going to have to embarrass him right now.
Well, let's see what happens right here. Jeff waits in the ring. Scotty Flamingo is there.
Yeah, there goes Flamingo. Jumps in there. And boy, is he going to work on Jeff Jarrett, son. Stomping away on Jeff. Scotty Flamingo from the WCW, and he is some type of wrestler, too. Heard a lot about him. And he's got Jeff Jarrett, who's out today. Jarrett goes to work on Flamingo now.
Oh, look out. Brian Christopher has just hit the ring. Hey, Jeff knocked him down.
Yeah. Oh, Christopher and Flamingo jump on Jeff. Scotty Flamingo knocking away on Jeff Jarrett while Brian Christopher holds on. And it's some type of bounty that Flamingo said. Christopher's got on Jeff in there.
Here comes Eddie Gilbert to help out, and there goes Scotty Flamingo. And there goes Brian Christopher out of the ring.
Yeah. Hot stuff. Eddie Gilbert comes in and evens things up, and Flamingo and Christopher decide to hightail it out of here.
But they're out here celebrating as though that they have just won a main event. They have not. They've been run out of the ring. But, tell you what, this Flamingo's trouble. Corey, you mentioned that I think most wrestling fans probably are familiar with him. He's tough, there's no doubt about it. Jeff's got his work cut out.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm expecting, all right, Jeff's in the ring first. Scotty's going to slide in. Jeff's going to commence to, beating him up. Then Brian's going to come in. Scotty sweeps his feet out from under him, slides in, and commences to whooping his ass for a good minute or so before Jeff finally turned it around. And, Eddie Gilbert is kind of settling into his spot here as being the resident savior of the baby faces here, because every week now Eddie is having to run out and save somebody, whether that's anybody he's, feuding with or not. So thank goodness. We know Jerry Lawler's here, but Jeff's good friend and tag team partner couldn't be bothered to come out right now. I guess he had his mind on other things. So thankfully, Eddie Gilbert came out, made the save, and now we have to assume it's time to move on. Let's hear from Wait, what? No, we got one more promo from Jeff Jarrett. He goes over to the desks and makes a statement that for years wrestlers have come into the USWA and tried to take out Jerry Lawler to make a name for themselves, and now it seems that people want to do the same with Jeff Jarrett, which seems to me like a pretty on-the-nose description of how they're trying to book him recently. What were you guys' take on that?
It does seem that way, but I mean, obviously they need somebody else, and it seemed like Jeff was going to be that guy, and it really became known that was probably the way it needed to go, because you started seeing, and years later, fast forward in time, Jeff's the new champion, and they're leaning towards more him than Lawler. Lawler may not even show up. So you could see that's the way this was progressing. And I like how they kind of pointed it out, made it obvious,
In my mind,
yeah.
I like to think, though, if listening to that clip, and this is a little off topic, that Corey showed Dave a picture, and he said, "What do you think of my landscaping?" And he said, "Boy, this flamingo's trouble." that's what made me laugh.
He sure is in there.
I've never heard somebody say, "Boy, this flamingo is trouble." You're right. We just lost Bill. Bill just left for WCW. Yeah. So Memphis has always seemed to have that 1-2 connection, kind of like, WWE back in the day where they, Hogan would make the A towns and then they would have somebody on the B towns running the thing. So you have, Lawler, when he can't be there, you still have a top guy that's your top baby face. So I think that was kind of what they were doing here with Jarrett.
It just makes you wonder, did they realize how soon after Jeff would be following suit and going to the, they're kind of putting their eggs in the Jeff Jarrett basket, but it won't be too long after Jerry that he's going to start doing more. He's going to start taking more WWF bookings than Lawler, honestly. Yeah. But we'll get there in due time. And so when I went to watch this show, I didn't realize that this was this show the first time I watched it a couple weeks ago. And so, holy shit, all of a sudden we see a WWF produced video of the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And so I assumed, we're showing this video. I'm like, all right, Randy's coming in to wrestle Lawler, just like with Kurt Hennig. We're just going to see this video. We may even see a video interview from Stanford of Randy talking about this match like we did with Kurt Hennig. But next thing you know, this video ends, and holy crap, this has...
There he is, the Macho Man himself, Randy Savage, right here today. Oh, yeah, he says.
I don't know you, but I know you, and I know myself. I'm the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Tower of power, too sweet to be sour. Funky like a monkey. Sky's the limit, space is the place. And Black Monday. Black Monday is at the Mid-South Coliseum. When I come back to do the thing, I'm the king in the ring in the Mid-South Coliseum. Oh, yeah. happening right now, do you? What's happening is we're unifying the whole thing because of the fact that I am a two-time World Wrestling Federation champion, and I've beaten them all. Oh, yeah. In fact, Black Monday at the Mid-South Coliseum, there's something that I want to say to the king because we got history. Yeah. We got history. You don't know that we got history. You know that we got history. But I want to tell him face to face. I'm not the type of individual like he is where he talks behind people's back. I like to look at a guy in his eyes, yeah, because then I can see the fear in his eyes. Jerry the King Lawler, the living legend, comes to an end on Black Monday. Yeah. Bring him out here right now because there's something that I want to tell him. Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to come out here right now. The king, though, he can pretty well back up everything he says, no matter where he says it.
So I don't know if you guys realize this, but this would be the very first time Randy Macho Man Savage has set foot in that studio since 1985 when he left and went to the World Wrestling Federation just a few months after Jimmy Hart went there. So pretty cool. And, you know, regardless of how, you know, anybody may feel about the status of WWF stars like Doink the Clown and Giant Gonzalez and even Lex Luger, no one can argue Randy Savage is a tippy-top main event, big star. And this guy's headlined WrestleManias. He's been the very top guy in the WWF. Now, at this very moment, he may not have necessarily been, but that doesn't change his status in the business, and it certainly doesn't, you know, change the wow factor of having him walk out in the studio. And Dave Brown looked like he was very nervous when Randy grabbed a hold of his tie. But what did you guys think watching this?
I was happy, man. That video, you mentioned the video before we watched this clip. You said it was a WWF produced video. It had to have been. And it just made that Jeff Jarrett video look even worse. I mean, it was night and day. I thought it was so good. Savage had to have had a hand like in the direction of it because it was a lot of really good shots. And then I was thinking, because, you know, you're just watching it, that's all you're going to get from Savage, because it would show like clips of matches and this and that, and then it just have him in front of a green screen like, oh yeah, Macho Man, and then it'd just be a real quick speaking thing back to wrestling. But yeah, night and day with those videos. But whenever he walks out there, that star power, man, you can't see anything else. He's dressed in the full garb, not being all lazy, you know, wearing his shredded jeans and cowboy boots. Like, he's full gimmick, full Macho Man. And, you know, at this point, I'm worried. I'm like, man, Lawler's going to come out here in that purple shit he had on last week. And it's not going to look good.
The shirt with a large woman on it, some jeans. I mean, my thing is, you look at the background, though. Corey Macklin looks like he's just as disappointed that he opened up his bag of popcorn and only like 4 kernels popped. He never smiled. We have a big time WWE guy here, and the whole time he's just frowning in the back, like in order to pay Macho Man, they took it out of his salary or something.
Do you think it's a boo-boo face because when Macho first come out, he said, I know you, I don't know you, and I know myself. Because, you know, like when Honky came out, Corey came out from the desk, hey, Corey Macklin, Honky Tonk. So before he could even get a chance to introduce himself, Macho Man's like, don't know you, don't care. Sit your ass. Because, yeah, you're right. In the background, he looked like a kid who just got told, no, we're not going to McDonald's. We got McDonald's at home. And he's just like, there's bullshit in there. But yeah, so I'm wondering now if the reason Eddie Gilbert had to come out and make the save for Jarrett is because Lawler was quickly putting on his gear back there, that he was up there wearing like a Lawler's Army t-shirt and some sweatpants, and then he sees Savage come out and he's like, oh God, I can't go out looking like a goof. And he's
be right back. Make Jeff do 3 segments. I gotta go run back home and grab my gear.
Can Jeff do another promo? Another promo? Jeff been out here for 30 minutes. Good Lord. Like, well, tell Scotty to rap again. I don't know. I got to put these things on my arms. All this shit to put on. But so Savage calls out Lawler, and Lawler comes out. And so again, as I clicked on this video to watch it the first time, I did not expect to see Macho Man Randy Savage and Jerry Lawler face to face in the TV studio this morning. Because, like Josh pointed out, like I mean, I would have probably been down to buy a ticket just if all we saw was that WWF produced promo and maybe just him in front of the green screen going, "Yeah, Monday night I'm coming down there, Lawler." Yeah, I'd be like, "Oh yeah." And then when that comes off the screen, I'm expecting Dave Brown to be like, "Yeah, we're going to see Randy Savage Monday night," and then he's coming through the curtain like, "Whoa, what's happening here?" So let's see what the King had to say once he came out here and confronted Macho Man face to face again. First time these guys have shared the screen together since 1985. We're almost a decade here.
Jerry the King Lawler, do you remember who I am and what I look like? Yeah, I'm a shining star. Looking down on you, big guy. Yeah. Black Monday, Mid-South Coliseum. It's gonna be the Macho Man walking all over you. People all over the world, zillions of people all over the world, they're waiting to find out what's gonna happen after the smoke clears, but I already know. Jerry Lawler, I already know. And you know something right now? You know too, don't you? Speechless, aren't you?
No, I'm not speechless.
You're speechless.
No, I think it's just that Slim Jim breath that's starting to get you. Well, let me just say this, Randy, Macho Man Savage. I watched your video, and it was very impressive. And without a doubt, you have done it all, and you have beaten them all, Randy Savage.
You're right.
That's right, you have. You wrestled in Pontiac,
Say it
Michigan.
again, wrestle.
You wrestled in Pontiac, Michigan in front of 93,000 people. The largest indoor crowd to ever witness any kind of sporting event, including Super Bowls or anything. Yeah, you've done it all. You've beaten Hulk Hogan.
Yes,
You've beaten every superstar in the World Wrestling Federation, and you've held their World Heavyweight Championship belt twice, right?
Exactly. I just told you that bottom line. Yeah.
You have-
Scared, aren't you?
No, I'm
Yes,
not
you are.
scared, Randy Macho Man Savage. I'm excited. I'm excited that a wrestler of your caliber
You're right.
has seen fit to come to my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee is my hometown, Randy Savage. And sure, you've conquered the World Wrestling Federation. You've done it all,
Yes,
and
I
you've beaten
have.
them all. But right here in Memphis, Tennessee, no, I don't carry the crown low. I wear the crown proudly, brother, because I am the king of wrestling here. I have always been the king of wrestling, and I will always be the.
Sorry, I have been laughing because ever since that clip showed, Josh was talking about how good the video was for Macho Man and how bad the one
Yeah.
was for Jeff Jarrett. And then you said that you would be more inclined to go to the Memphis shows just for the video for Macho Man. And I was thinking of Corey going, and we're going to have the guy that made Jeff's music video there. And for $5, you can throw a rock at him.
You can tell him everything that sucked about his damn video. Oh my God. Yeah, but you're right, man. Like, we should have saved that Jeff Jarrett video till next week, because showing them within 10 minutes of each other,
Yeah.
I mean, it shows that, you know, one company's playing checkers and the other's playing chess, or, you know, something completely different. But good promo there. I mean, Lawler went out of his way to sing Savage's praises and put over everybody's beaten, because Lawler knows as soon as this promo ends, he's going to run one of those highlight reels of him beating all these different big stars that come through Memphis, sung to the tune of Bon Jovi's "Wanted Dead or Alive," just to remind Macho Man, like, hey, I've beaten everybody. So what makes you think you're not going to be next? But I've really noticed watching all these shows week in and week out in succession like this. The King really went to the well on that Memphis thing, you know, to really get that crowd behind him. Yeah, he said if you go back in this promo alone and count the number of times he said, "Here in Memphis, my people in Memphis, 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 Memphis." Which is, I mean, it's smart, but I forgot. I didn't really realize back in the day how much he leaned into that, and why wouldn't he?
Yeah, you can tell street violence wasn't as high as it is now either, too, because boy, it would be different now if they did that right.
Oh yeah,
everybody comes
but
out.
I mean,
fight
us versus them, man.
You got to give it up for that Slim Jim breath line, though. That was that popped Corey. You can see Corey finally smiled back there. That's like Slim Jim breath in there.
But thank God Lawler showed up with the shit he wore on that horse whenever he came to the the big event. Because if he came with any outfit, like I said, wearing that purple shit from last week or whatever, it would have looked like the Jarrett video and the Macho Man video standing right there beside each other. Like, thank God.
Like, Lawler dressed like he was going to like a weird church, but he dressed like he was going to church. It's like we haven't seen him that dressed up in years.
Yes, it was his fanciest of outfits that he owns. But I take it he must have known that Macho Man was going to bring it, because as much as I like to joke about, he was back there quickly changing after the Macho Man came on screen. I'm sure they had been sitting back there together for the entirety of the morning of, what are you going to say, Lawler? Because, Savage famously likes to, rehearse everything. So I'm sure they had ran through that promo. And then what are you going to say? I'll tell them that you beat Hogan. I'll tell them, Pontiac, Michigan. Tell them about Pontiac, Michigan. Don't say I lost, though. I didn't win that one. But yeah, that's super cool to have the Macho Man here this week. And I'm excited to see, Giant Gonzalez pop the gate. We drew 3,000 people last week for the Giant Gonzalez show. And he's, was brand new to WWF and, really wasn't established, and he was a heel. So can you imagine what the gate's going to do with the Macho Man here this week? But right now, we're going to take our first podcast commercial break of the day. And when we come back, it's going to be time to talk about that middleweight title tournament we had last Monday night.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
All right, guys. So let's take a look at some highlights of the USWA middleweight title tournament last week, and then we'll talk a little bit about it after we see exactly what happened.
Oh, big boot from Miss Texas. And a forward, but look at Whoopie D over there. Grabs Miss Texas by a leg and shoves her down. Oh, Jamie Dundee's got it covered. He got a 1, 2, 3. Referee Paul Neighbors, goes to stop him, and the rest of Terra just shoves Danny Davis down. Davis still going for the mask, though. Goes the chain in the ring. Davis grabbed the chain and lost it. Hey, but the Master Terror picks it up. He got it. Oh, Danny Davis did so. 1, 2, 3. Davis, snelled it away on Dundee. Oh, boy. That's caught referee Frank Morelli live. Here comes, Wolfie D with that big hubcap. Nails Danny Davis right in the back of the head. And Dundee falls out. Rolls Davis over. He's got him covered. 2, 3, he got it. Oh, boy. 1, 2, 3. 4 minutes and 46 seconds. Jamie Dundee makes history and is the USWA middleweight heavyweight champion in 4 minutes and 46 seconds.
Corey says he has made history as Jamie Dundee is the USWA middleweight heavyweight champion.
Just depends on what planet he's on. Different gravitational pulls.
He thought it was the same deal as light heavyweight. You know, not middle too.
People are just used to throwing heavyweight in between whatever they say in championships. So it's a middleweight heavyweight championship. So a couple of interesting things there. Number one, I assume that the middleweight heavyweight title matches took place before the Southern heavyweight title matches. And since you pointed this out earlier, and I found it to be interesting too, we see the exact same scenario that we're going to see later with Brian and Jeff, except this time it played out exactly as we expected, where Danny moves out of the way and Master of Terror clocks Burt Prentice off the apron. Danny Davis rolls him up 1, 2, 3. So I guess in the Jarrett and Brian Christopher match, it was almost like a callback. They're like, all right, so this is going to play out like it happened earlier. But if you're looking at it from that perspective, you're probably going to think, well, why would Prentice try this again? It didn't work worth a shit earlier in the night. At that time, it worked perfect. You know, he was able to walk right over and punch Jeff. But they get the win over Miss Texas with Wolfie tripping up Miss Texas and Jamie dropping an elbow across the back of her head. And then he gets the win over Uncle Danny with Wolfie putting the hubcap up against his dome and knocking him out. And then we have history made with our first ever USWA middleweight heavyweight champion, JC Ice of PG-13. And then PG-13 comes out for a promo. Let's hear what these guys have to say about their first big title win here after their debut on television last week.
All right, hear the music, and PG-13 headed this way right here. Jamie Dundee of PG-13 wearing the USWA middleweight championship belt. Yeah, well,
Hey, what's up? Look, everybody in the whole world happy for PG-13. Look at this Dave Brown right here. If they can see this right here, zoom in. It says Chelsea Clinton, birthday girl, asked to see PG-13, brother. Right there, look at it.
I don't think that's all it says.
That won't be deep. Let me read some of this for you. It says Chelsea Clinton said PG-13 is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So
Come on. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about the wrestling matches. You've got a match coming up, as a matter of fact, with Ms. Texas. What do you think about Ms. Matter of fact, I noticed that without your timely interference, she might have even beaten your partner over here.
I didn't interfere, man. She hit the ropes and she was looking at me because I'm so fly. She was looking at me, man. As she hit the ropes, she tripped because she was, Wolfie, he's back. Boom, fell out. And he just jumped on top of me. But let's talk about, what did we tell you, Dave Brown? Take a look at it. USWA middleweight champion, PG-13, baby. We are the middleweight champion of the USWA.
Well, I think "we" is a good description after seeing how you won.
I'll say "we" because, I'm wonderful, Wolfie's wonderful, so together we're just great. So what we say, but I beat everybody with an open hand slap and covered them all and made me the official middleweight champion of the world. Hey, Corey, how you doing, my Oreo brother?
Oh, they got me. That line got me.
Yeah, got Corey too. All right, so what did you think of the promo there? Besides the end line, obviously.
Well, I was happy to see Mr. Uncle Danny went to the trophy shop and just got that little plate for it says USWA for $5 or whatever, and just throw it up there. Don't worry about that Global Wrestling Federation above it. Don't worry about that. But I mean, it is cool that seeing somebody like Jamie come out as the champion. You know, at least it added a little bit of credibility because of all the antics and stuff Jamie was a part of earlier, you know, in this area. It was like he's just a sneaky little shit. He'll never be nothing. But like this, no matter how he won it, showing he won this in a singles match, it kind of gave them, you know, a little bit of something when they were coming in there and nobody know who the fuck Wolfie D was, and they just knew Jamie as that little pipsqueak runt. You know, it added a little bit of spice to it.
I agree. I mean, it looked like Jamie was on the path to being the next downtown Bruno, you know, the little scrawny manager that picks his spots and jumps in and interferes and runs away and then gets beat up when the time comes. But this showed that, hey, we're actually going to make a wrestler out of this guy. What was your take, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I thought having the two guys like that should be going after a tag title boast about how they basically swindled the title away and cheated. I mean, I thought that was a great twist to it. You know, they're a tag team, but they're trying to rule that singles division and they're going to do it together. And I like the way he said, you know, we're the middleweight champion. I thought that was pretty cool. I do think that we should go back and like look at the ring that he won it in. The far post that they were in was wobbling like crazy, and I got tickled earlier when I was talking to Josh, and I was like, imagine Corey and before the show started was like, anybody got a MIG welder? Because this post is woo. Y'all stay out of that corner. It's just going to collapse at any point. So I think we could probably go back, and if we did like the whole WWE angle where they reversed the match because the rope broke, we should reverse it where Uncle Danny won that title. I think, you know. It's just bullshit that he lost.
There's a case to be made for sure. I feel like too that if the Harlem Knights were supposed to debut that night, Corey Macklin's like, not tonight. That ring can't take it. That ring cannot take it. More on that later. All right. So PG-13, they've got a match today. Let's see how the White Tiger and Ron Hutchings fares against the new tag team middleweight champion.
Oh boy, let's tell you, these guys, if they would wrestle, they could get something done in there, but they got to hop around and all of that. PG-13, tag on Whoopie D. After a big body slam from Jamie Dundee. Whoopie D up on the top rope. Drop kick on Ricky Hutchings.
Not very sportsmanlike, to say the least.
Not at all. Look at that move. Jamie Dundee come over the ropes there after. Whoopie D whipped the White Tiger into the ropes, and Dundee catches him with the tennis shoe, you may want to call it. This wrestling style, this PG-13 comes in there with. Very unusual, but you got to give it to them. These guys can wrestle, though. Whoopie D sets up the White Tiger. Breaks him off for it. He nails him with that hubcap. White Tiger's out, too, boy, after Jamie Dundee nailed him with that hubcap. Whoopie D's got him covered. 1, 2, 3, and PG-13 gets the win, and that's going to do it over the White Tiger and Ricky Hutchins.
And they brought the hubcap into it. They didn't need to. They could have pinned him earlier, but they refused to do it. We'll be back with more from the USWA right after this.
There you see it. Slingshot up into the hubcap. What a brutal finish right there.
The White Tiger in all black, rest in peace. He was wearing the appropriate color, man. They fucking killed him. Like it looked like he had red on his mask. Like it was a legit deal.
Just a pool of blood under his head as they pit him.
But once again, they used the hubcap to get the win. But they showed off some cool double team moves and teamwork along the way. When the video starts there, and Corey's like, these guys could be great. They got to do all that, hop around, and y'all keep calling them the hip hop tag team. I mean, they're gonna hop around, I guess. But Uncle Danny's not happy. he's not happy at all about how this went down, and he actually he's not here today. He's not in the studio like Randy Savage, but he has sent in a promo that apparently was shot in a closet somewhere, and let's take a look at this and tell me if you think I'm wrong.
JC Ice, Jamie Dundee, I guess you're feeling like you're on top of the world right now, probably bragging about how you whipped me all over that arena. Well, let me tell you something, Jamie. If it takes black in your eye, if it takes knocking some of your teeth out, or if it takes breaking your nose, Jamie Dundee, I promise you one thing, that's something that I'm going to do, because I'm not going to let you or Wolfie D stop me from being the new USWA middleweight champion.
He had to cut the promo at the 7-Eleven bathroom.
That's what it looks like. Like, I mean, the video quality of that whole show is not great, but that promo in particular, the video quality is just awful. And
I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee you, because he would carry a video camera and shit with him sometimes. I guarantee you that was his video camera, and he just send it to him.
There's been foreign hostage videos with better quality than that thing.
I mean, completely whited out. He could have been the white tiger, because I mean, it's completely just whited out, and you hear like in the background, like he was in the closet or the bathroom at a rave somewhere. They're like, hey, grab that VHS camcorder over there. I got to shoot a promo because I'm not driving all the way to Memphis for TV tomorrow. So I want to send this tape up there with somebody, and they can play it during the show. But Uncle Danny has sworn revenge, and he is going to be coming after that middleweight heavyweight championship this week at the Mid-South Coliseum. And so from there, we get a promo from the King of Rock and Roll, Doug Gilbert, who says the USWA isn't big enough for him and his brother.
Claims to be the King of Rock and Roll, Dirty Doug Gilbert has arrived.
Dave, you said claims. How many people do you know that can dance like that? I am the King of Rock and Roll. Hey, Dave, I got a beautiful audience today. Don't look at them. They're not that beautiful. They all come to see me. They love me, Dave. They love me.
We've got some great fans here today. I'm not sure they're all here to see you.
Okay, when I come out here, look at that bus. Look at that big guy there, Dave. Oh, what a clown he is. Okay, I sit out here all morning long, and I've listened to people say they want to be kings, this and that, but look at me, Dave. I am the King of Rock and Roll. I dance, I sing. I'm beautiful, ain't I, Dave? But what I'm out here to talk about, Dave, and I'm real fed up with it, I don't guess Eddie Gilbert knows who he's dealing with, does he, Dave? The U.S. Hold on just a second. The USWA, yeah, it's real big. There's a whole lot of stars. Look,
hear what they're saying? Eddie.
What they're saying, Dave. Just hold on. The USWA, yeah, it's real big, but it's not quite big enough for Eddie Gilbert and the King of Rock and Roll, Daddy. So what I'm saying, yeah, he must have had the guts to get that pen in his hand and scribble that name on there, Dave. But then he probably wasn't reading, because what it said was the loser must leave town. Amen.
That's right.
Dave, so what I'm telling you is we'll no longer hear anybody saying, Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. What they better get in their mind is King of Rock and Roll. And also, Eddie Marlin went to the old folks' home, and he found Dutch Mantell somewhere. And he brought him. I'm just going to warm up on him a little bit right now, Dave. And when
you going to warm up on Dutch Mantell?
Yeah, I'm going to warm up. I'm going to warm up. There he is.
There's Dutch.
No, hold it. Dutch Mantell is just like Eddie Gilbert. These people have poisoned him. He used to be dirty Dutch Mantell. Now he's just a dirty dog, is all he is. And I'm fixing to beat his brains out, and I'm going to dance a little bit, and I might sing when I get through, Dave.
Well, I hope not. But Doug Gilbert is headed for the ring, right?
I hope not. Wow.
I'm hoping I can get Doug to pull off some of those dance moves on a future edition of Dangerous Conversations. I'm guessing he's not going to be excited to talk about this era. I may be wrong. It may be his favorite thing, but somehow, knowing Doug, I don't think it's going to be. But I am excited to hear all about it. But he's getting ready to take on Dirty Dutch Mantell. So in theory, that sounds like a pretty solid match. Dutch Mantell, this will be the first time we've seen him in action here on TV. He's been coming to the Coliseum and doing some shows, and around this time, he's mostly doing announcing and co-hosting, I guess you'd say, for the Smoky Mountain show over around Knoxville. And so he's coming over here and having some matches. So let's take a look at a little bit of clips from this match between Doug and Dutch, and then analyze the result of it. Technical difficulties.
Over there when he said that, they were waving goodbye to Doug.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But today, he's going against the Dutchman, and he jumped it while Dutchman still has that, serape on over there, the blanket, whatever you call it. But now he throws Doug out of the ring, and he is ready to go. And here comes Doug. How about it, Doug?
Hey, Dave, you know he didn't give me a chance to get my
Oh, yeah.
You didn't give him a chance.
Who
How about that?
jumped whom is what I would like to know. We were watching right here. Gee whiz. Now Doug Gilbert climbs back in the ring. Going against the Dirty Dutchman out of Oil Trough, Texas. This one should be a good one. And look out, Doug.
Indeed. Dirty Dutchman down. Flips Doug Gilbert into the rope. Big backflip on him. Takes Doug down.
What is this? Now Doug has another timeout, huh?
Okay, Dave. I'm just about warm now. I'm fixing to beat his brains out.
All right, go get him, Doug. Let's see. Just about warmed up now, he says. Got Dutch Mantell lying in the ring. There's no doubt about that.
You better pay attention to the Dirty Dutchman. Dutch is out on the mat, though. Doug's on the top rope. Whoa!
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, gee. Catches a boot from Dutch Mantell. Well, right hand, yeah.
Doubled up fist. That could be a mistake. Look at Dutch.
Couple of left jabs from Doug Gilbert. Whoa! Mantell blocks it right from Doug. Going up to, oh boy! Here comes PG-13 in it. Jumping on Dutch Mantell. PG-13 and Doug Gilbert. All on Mantell. Here comes help for Dutch. Hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert. Grabs Doug, and Doug gets out of there, though.
And who's leaving the area right now? It is Dirty Doug Gilbert. Eddie Gilbert has just sent his brother out of here. We'll be back with more. Stay with.
So it feels like, they're trying to disprove our theory. So that was a fun match, up until the end. It was a good little match. And then, we talked about last week how it seems like, whenever there's a match that, whoever's in a feud with the baby face, that heel's going to hit the ring, and then the baby face is going to make the save. But here, unless you guys know something I don't know of any established reason why PG-13 would be running in against Dutch Mantell, nor would I know why they would be running in to help Doug Gilbert. But they did, and of course it got the desired effect because it got us a disqualification at the end of the match with the DQ, and it gave us a reason to have Eddie come out and make the save against Doug, so they got their match coming up. So there you go. But it just felt really odd that, like, what reason did PG-13 have to run in on this match? What would you guys take on this?
I mean, just looking at it through like when I watch these shows, I kind of try to just completely look at it through the lens of a fan. And so obviously we're going to analyze stuff like we do, knowing everything that we know, but I'd legit try to just watch it that way. And I was puzzled by PG-13 coming out. I figured like maybe Brian was tied up. Bruise Brothers aren't there, thank God. But I mean, like, I think that it was one of those deals to where I would deduce, well, those are bad guys. And I guess Doug just paid them to come help him, because he's also a terrible person. Like, usually I would come up with stuff like that, but that's the only thing that I could think of. I mean, it's just bad guy association, really.
Yeah. Richard?
Yeah, same thing. As a kid, I just thought all the bad guys knew each other. So not really weird for me, but now as an adult, yeah, it's like
zero sense.
No sense whatsoever. I don't even think they've ever talked to each other, have they? In the times that they've ever interacted?
Not on camera. They've had no association whatsoever. So yeah, it feels a little odd, but yeah, like you, like if I'm looking back as a kid, I just thought, well, all the bad guys are friends and all the good guys are friends, and that was why it felt weird when there would be a turn, and now all of a sudden, just all the good guys are friends with this guy who used to be a bad guy, or vice versa. It's like, well, why did okay, that's weird, but you still just kind of accepted it. So. But anyway, fun little match, a match we haven't seen. We hadn't seen Dutch in action yet, so always happy to see Dutch Mantell. I didn't love that Doug, pointed out they found him in an old folks' home and everything. I never like that when you ever go, you go calling somebody old and all that shit, because that whole psychology of if you beat him, who you beat? If he beats you, you get beat by the old guy. But then again, Dutch is old. Look at him at the time, so it's a fair statement, I guess. But we go to a break and we come back. Corey Macklin runs down all the action coming to your local arenas. And Eddie Marlin comes out and introduces a new tag team that we're going to be getting acquainted with here real soon. Usually I wouldn't even show something like this, but I'm fascinated by the voices on these two guys and just remembering at the time the sight of these two guys walking out on the screen and this being the first time I've seen them. They kind of stand out.
Yeah. Curry, we got a super card in Jonesboro tomorrow night. Got 7 big matches already lined up. And I just want to bring these guys out and let the people see them. The Harlem Knights, they came into the USWA a day early, so I said, instead of laying dead here for a day, we'll book you right in Jonesboro tomorrow night. So, fellas, Jonesboro, Arkansas tomorrow night, the big super card with the USWA.
Harlem Knights. All you people, shut up. The first thing I want to say, shut up and listen while we're talking in here. The first thing I want to say is I'm tired of seeing head-butting, booty shaking, black wrestlers coming out here disgracing our race. It's time for 2 hard-nosed grapplers to come and prove to the USWA and to the world that we're the best tag team in this business. There's only one person in this business that I care about, and that's my brother Bobby Knight. So Moondogs and USWA, look out! Jonestown, here comes the Harlem Knights!
Well, that's the Harlem Knights, and this proves it's going to be a big night over there Sunday night. Jerry the King, Lawler, Jeff Jarrett, Eddie Gilbert, all the big stars be right there, including the Harlem Knights.
They include the Harlem Knights.
Are you guys tired of headbutting and booty shaking?
Isn't that what the Moondogs are known for?
Oh my God!
Dundee was doing a lot of that in his match earlier, but
yeah.
I don't think that's what they were talking about.
Hard-nosed grapplers are what they are. They are the return, the second coming of Thez and Billy Robinson.
That's right,
dude. I can't wait to see how they work. It'll be great.
Now, you said something a minute ago. You pointed out that so far, as of now, and we're almost all the way through this show, we've seen no sign of the Harris brothers. And now suddenly and clearly heel tag team has shown up. I don't want to jinx it. Let's not go there yet, but I don't know. Seems suspicious. But right now, we've heard from Doug. Let's hear what Eddie Gilbert has to say about what is clearly been established as a loser leaves town match happening between Eddie and Doug this Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum.
Eddie Gilbert's joined us right here. I'm sure you heard all the things that Doug had to say earlier.
Yeah, David, I'm just scared to death.
I want to let a little message out to my brother today. Last week, he kind of slipped up and he got one over on me, Dave. Because of, I think between the two of us as brothers, I think the only reason why he got the match and got the victory was because I have a little bit bigger heart than he does. Because Doug knows it just like I do. If I wanted to, Doug, if I'd have kept the figure 4 on you, I would have broke your leg in half. But you told me I quit. I'm sorry. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I'm the one that trained you. I'm the one that brought you into the USWA, so you better get on the phone, brother. And you better call Vince McMahon up there in the WWF, and you better call whoever's running WCW this week and ask them for a job. Because after this week, I'm going to make sure I send you out of here. And one thing's for sure, you just may be the king of rock and roll because you sure as hell are not the king of wrestling.
There's a word from Eddie Gilbert. It's brother against brother, loser leave.
Oh my guys, Doug was out there dancing around, kind of having some fun in his promo, but Eddie's pretty fired up for this loser leaves town match Monday night.
I think the biggest thing there as a kid, I would have been like, wait, Vince runs WWF? Because as a kid, I would have just looked at him as the announcer. You could tell there was some bridges must have been some hard feelings must have been between him and WCW because he didn't even give them the respect of even saying whoever's running
it this week was a pretty stiff shot.
Yeah. But I got fired up promo there, kind of talks you into the arena with that kind of promo.
But usually when Eddie's pissed off like that, and you could tell like something's on his mind, he's a little more bitey than usual. Like usually Eddie being pissed off like this, it's something's fixing to happen. Obviously somebody's leaving town, but you would figure it's got to be Doug, right? There's no way he's going to beat Eddie in a loser leave town.
I figured it'd be Doug winning. I figured Eddie had somewhere going. So, both opposite ends of the spectrum here.
I mean, looking back,
you never know.
Looking back at the timeline, though, this is more than likely around the time Doug goes to Japan, correct?
He's in and out of Japan around this time. He's by this time he's starting to establish those tours where he's going over, and that's kind of why you see him in and out of Memphis. He'll go for a couple of months, and then he comes back and he works Memphis and here and there, and then he goes back over there. And that's supposedly why he never really signed a long-term contract with none of the American promotions, because he wanted that freedom to be able to go to Japan, because that was a pretty lucrative deal for him. But yeah, I mean, Eddie's he's a veteran, and he seems to be right on time with these promos. Last week's time to bear down promo was perfect for where we were at in the story and what we had happening, and so now we've gotten to a loser leaves town match, and he's super fired up at his brother. So exactly what we needed here. So I thought it was good. And next up, we get a pre-recorded promo from the only guy who says brother in his promos more than Hulk Hogan, Richard Lee, and he's mad because he's wearing a rag on his head, and he said he wasn't going to do that again because apparently the Harris brothers beat the Moondogs, but not for the USWA tag team titles, but for Richard Lee's hair this past week. And it would seem that Brian Christopher came down to ringside and knocked out one of the Moondogs, allowing the Harris brothers to win. And rather than calling for the 1300th and 27th rematch between the Moondogs and the Bruise brothers, Richard Lee is looking for revenge on Brian Christopher, it seems. And I guess he's already been told that Brian Christopher is bringing in a former Moondog that Richard Lee fired, because he mentions in this promo that the big black dog, the Moondog he fired, the Moondog who his only motivation to fight, it seemed, was to get to the front of the line to the dinner table. And maybe that's what's going to spark Brian's promo here in a minute. The big black dog is coming to team with Brian Christopher against the Moondogs. And if you don't know the big black dog, if you hadn't followed USWA wrestling, if you don't remember the time a while back in '92 during the big feud with the Moondogs and Lawler and Jarrett and sometimes Robert Fuller, well, let's let Brian tell you about the big black dog.
He's big, he's black, and he is mean.
There you go. That's what you need to know about him.
Josh was mesmerized by his nipples.
Dude, watching this at home, it is not 4K quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not. It's an old tape transfer. But I don't give a shit. I could see that man's nipples were at least half an inch, 3/4 inch away from his body. It's like he had nipple clamps on before he came out there. Like, that is really weird to me.
You prepare how you prepare. He prepares how he prepares, Josh.
God. It's really weird.
So Brian comes out, and rather than being enraged as I expect, so I'm expecting that Brian is going to come out. He's going to be beside himself because, week before he got his face burned off. Now he's got his Southern title taken from him. What does he have to be happy about? But instead, Brian comes out and he seems pretty happy. He's bragging to Dave Brown about what a genius he is because after Eddie Marlin told him that the Moondogs have challenged him, as he put it, that he was smart enough to bring in the big black dog. And if you've already somehow forgotten who and what the big black dog is, let us
He's big, he's black, and he is mean.
That's right. And he's coming to town, the team with Brian Christopher, because Brian Christopher cost the Moondogs the match last week, calls Richard Lee to have his head shaved. And Richard Lee didn't really seem so mad about having a bald head. He's just really mad about having to wear a rag on his head because I guess somebody needs to tell him, Richard, you don't have to wear that rag on your head. If that's the big problem, just leave it off.
Part of the stipulation.
Yeah, just wear that cap you're always wearing. It's cool. But apparently, more so than Richard Lee, more so than Spot, Brian has a huge problem with Moondog Splat as he just really goes in on Moondog Splat about what a big, fat piece of trash he is. And he's just 400 pounds of lard. And we talked about before we started recording, I was asking, was it just me or did Brian just really seem to have an axe to grind with Moondog Splat? And you guys yeah. It seemed to be. What do you think about this promo here from Brian? I'm not going to show clips. We're kind of running long on time. But what did you think of this promo from Brian? And were you guys surprised that there was really no mention of the Southern title, even though earlier in the show, and we didn't mention this earlier as we got sidetracked with raps and things of that nature, but apparently Brian has put a bounty on Jeff Jarrett, but here he makes no mention of it. What do you guys think about that?
Well, Brian is extremely materialistic, and he has been the Texas champion for 2.5 years at this point, and he brought the belt. Now, mind you, USWA's last foray in Texas was summer of '91. So, how big of a Texas champion is he really? But he's still got the belt, and he's still wearing it. And it's a really good. The way that he's bringing in an old face, somebody that's probably the two Moondogs put together isn't bigger than the big black dog, but yeah, he is totally shitting on Splat. Splat sliced his tires or something. He's calling him a piece of trash, fat tub of lard. I brought this guy in just so I don't have to touch you. He literally said that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's really weird. It's got to be personal.
Is it weird that I give myself that same speech in the mirror every morning though?
Trying to put your belt on.
Yeah. You're a fat piece of lard.
Are you just going to clip that Brian Christopher promo now so you don't have to say it to yourself? You just hit a button and let's listen to Brian say all these things. I'm I know he's talking about me. I know he's talking about me.
I'm going to do better.
Right.
Well, let's see a little clip of this tag team match here. And get a little sample of the big black dog in action along with Brian Christopher, but mostly the big black dog.
Sure you want some of this? Big Black Dog and Brian Christopher coming up against Ken Raper and T.D. Steele, and the Black Dog goes over. Steele's Raper and T.D. Steele. While Brian Christopher is having a fun time, Black Dog takes on Raper and Steele.
Now, Christopher sent him in there 2 against 1 and said, take care of both of them. So far, Brian's just been dancing around. Well, there he gets into the action with a boot to T.D. Steele.
Christopher's got Steele, and Black Dog just threw Ken Raper out on the floor. Raper is out on the concrete floor, and Christopher's got T.D. Steele, and he's telling Black Dog to come off with that splash. Oh boy, he catches T.D. Steele with it and puts him out too. Christopher picks up Steele, slams T.D. down, and tags Big Black Dog. Black Dog comes off the rope, drops all of that weight on T.D. Steele. 2, 3, he got him. Boy, it didn't take long for Big Black Dog and Brian Christopher to get the 1, 2, 3 victory.
All right. pretty decisive win there. Big Black Dog takes the victory, and you know, guys know why?
He's big, he's black, and he is mean.
As advertised, he certainly is. So it's going to be quite the showdown this week as they take on the Moondogs. So let's go and take our second and final podcast commercial break. And when we come back, Dave and Corey's going to run down the Mid-South Coliseum card. And then we get to talk about what happened at the Mid-South Coliseum this week when we come back.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. So if you're looking to support that next up and coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
All right, let's hear it. Let's find out what this has all been about. Let's hear what the matches are going to be this Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum.
Big night coming up at the Mid-South Coliseum. I think if you have already seen the card, you'll agree. If you missed it earlier, take a look at this right here. PG-13, the team of Jamie Dundee and Wolfie D. They made some noise in the USWA. These guys are putting together a win streak. They're going to be going against Hurricane Hatchet and Miss Texas. That should be interesting right there.
That's the opening bout of the night.
That's just the beginning. That's right. Middleweight title match coming up. Danny Davis, if you saw that videotape a little bit earlier, I think you'll agree Danny Davis perhaps should have been the middleweight champion, but for some timely interference there by Wolfie D. But regardless of how you feel about it, Jamie Dundee is the middleweight title holder, but he's going to have to defend it this week against Danny Davis. Then, loser leave town match coming up. Oh, everybody was saying to Doug, no, hey, goodbye, when Eddie appeared. What will happen Monday night at the Coliseum? And what will happen in the grudge match? The Moondogs with Richard Lee. That's who the opponents will be for Brian Christopher and the Big Black Dog. Come Monday night, should be probably a much different story than the match in which Christopher and Big Black Dog figured here today. Southern title will be on the line then. Jeff Jarrett will be going against Scotty Flamingo. But that's not all. The Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Can't wait for this one.
Comes to town to challenge the King, Jerry Lawler. There he is. He'll be at the Coliseum Monday night. We'll be right back here next week. We hope you'll join us then for more USWA Championship Wrestling.
All right, guys. We just went through an entire episode of this show, and then Dave and Corey ran down the card. And I have to ask, has Josh's dream come true? We said that it seems like this episode, they're going back retroactively 30-something years and righting wrongs. Are the Harris brothers gone from the USWA? Is that what's happening right now?
God,
it
I
looks
hope
like
so.
it. Looks like it.
I hope so. I would watch 1,000 Harlem Night matches before I would one Bruise Brothers match. Like,
So I had actually forgotten this until I did a little research, and then it came back to me. I remember seeing them now. But in March of 1993, the Harris brothers went to WCW for a brief time. They pop up on a couple of Saturday night episodes. I think they were even maybe at a Clash of the Champions or two or something. But they spent a brief time in WCW, and then from there they would go on to Smoky Mountain for a while. So it seems like Josh is going to be excited that we are free of the Bruise Brothers, at least for quite a while here in Memphis. The only problem is going to be is now it's time to answer those all important questions we ask, and without having his go-to, I mean, he didn't have to think about it. It's every week Josh is like Bruise Brothers.
Yeah.
You don't have that to fall back on, so it's going to be interesting as we answer the questions. And so here we go. And I'm not going to give him the benefit of hearing your answer, Josh. Richard, I want Josh to answer this first. Josh, your least favorite part of this episode?
He's big, he's black, and he's mean. I don't like the big black dog. Like those nipples really freak me out.
Let's not be racist here, Josh. I mean, come on.
Like those nipples really freak me out. Like, and that's something that I really, really would have noticed as a kid. And seeing him in the ring
as a kid,
yeah, right. I would have.
I don't even want to know why you were so honed in on nipples as a kid.
I would have immediately known that looks weird. Like, seriously, it would have freaked me out back then too. But like, even if he was athletic, that would be off-putting, but he's not. He's absolute trash in the ring. Like,
he's got Tootsie Rolls on his titties, Mom.
They're like the same length. It's fucking weird. But athletically, it's like his knees don't move.
No.
Or he's got a stick up his ass the whole time or he's like, he's got an egg up in there, and they're like, don't you break that egg now. And the only thing athletic he did was those 2 splashes, and he probably poked those guys' eyes out.
So you're saying you prefer more of the hard-nosed grappler type?
Yeah.
Although, in his defense, I saw no headbutts or booty shakes, but still, he wasn't a hard-nosed grappler, and he didn't bend his knees. All right, Richard, who bent their knees enough for you or this one? No, I'm just kidding. What's your least favorite part of the show?
I really thought he was going to say, I hate the way that the Bruise Brothers made me feel, because I really don't hate them at all. I hated how we jammed everything into like segments. It was almost like people were clocking in, doing their spot on the show, and then clocking out. Because, you had Jeff there. Jeff Jarrett was there for the first part of the show, and he had all those long segments, and then he was gone. Then Lawler came out for that one segment, then he was gone. It just felt like, I don't know. We kind of got what we wanted. We're getting new things in there, brand new angles, brand new people. But it just kind of felt like nothing was connected in a way. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, it was just kind of like they just said, well, who's here? All right, well, you'll take the first 30 minutes. You'll take this, this half of this part of the segment. It just didn't feel like it was concise, really. Because then when you had somebody getting beat up like Jeff Jarrett, where was Lawler at? Where, Eddie come out there once, but I don't know. It just felt like everybody was in there and then they were gone, or they were there too long.
Well, and that's, like I say, that's kind of become Eddie's role. Because I don't know. I know this isn't how it works, but like I picture in my head of like Eddie Marlin's back there, like, all right, Jeff, you can go. Jerry, you can go. Eddie starts to stand up. He's like, no, Eddie, you got to save. You got to run out and you got to save Doug, and you already saved Jeff. And if anything else gets hairy, we may have to have you save, somebody else too. So that's your role now, Eddie. You're the savior. So just stick around. Eddie's like, God, I got shit to do too, man. Like, I didn't want to. When he come out and did his promo, he's all fired up. Like, listen here, dog. Let me tell you something. Because he's pissed off because he had to stay for the whole freaking show when Jeff and Jerry Lawler's already halfway home by now, and Lawler's at his house by the time Eddie got out to do his promo.
I was going to say they're eating at Shoney's with Macho Man.
Yeah. Still wearing the same.
Oh, it's the breakfast bar. So yeah, nobody asked, but my least favorite part was the fact that Jeff and I've said on the show, people have heard me put over Jeff Jarrett. I'm a fan, but having all those Jeff Jarrett segments back to back like that, as Richard has pointed out, was not my favorite part. All right, so on the other side of that, what was your most favorite part of the show, Josh?
Obviously, it was, the promo package with Macho Man, and then him just, surprising everyone, showing up like full garb, everything. It just felt like one of those Memphis is changing moments. I felt that same way with Luger because he was, really to me larger than life. But man, Macho Man is in that point, and even still now. Everybody just looked at him different. Like he was bigger than the wrestlers themselves. He's just like a guy to himself. He's the Macho Man. It was just surreal seeing him back in Memphis because a lot of times you would see guys get really famous, like after they were in Memphis, they would go somewhere else, get really famous, and you would never hear from them again. They would never lower themselves to come back to Memphis. But
Sting.
Macho Man, dude, 100 miles an hour, came right back into the studio, full gimmick. It was really cool.
Richard?
I have a two-way tie for different reasons. Macho Man, one, was, of course, one of my favorites. But as the show has been going, I just cannot get over how great that Jeff Jarrett promo was, just for a different reason. It's Macho Man was iconic. He was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. He's still one of my favorites today. He was a legend. He's got that voice and that he'll never be duplicated. He'll never be lived up to. He was just a legend. But that Jeff Jarrett video, it's gonna haunt my dreams for years. And I will laugh every time I see a kid shooting a basketball. I will think about Jeff Jarrett
and missing
that video or a rocket launch.
Yeah, next time they
baby,
you're gonna be like, that one's for you, Double J.
Somebody pet a Rottweiler and then come back and pet that same Rottweiler the exact same way. I'll think of Jeff Jarrett.
But yeah. When you leave to go to work and you pet your dog, you're gonna stop, go back and do it again, and go, that was for Jeff,
right?
In tribute. Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm totally pissed that no one said that Scotty Flamingo's rap was their favorite part of the show. Very disappointing, you guys, but I'm going to give you a pass since all this other cool stuff happened. I guess it's forgivable, but I feel like this is a slam dunk answer here. I'm going to be kind of shocked if this goes any other way, but I have to ask it because it's what we do here. If this was actually 1993 and we were there, would today's TV have inspired you to go buy a ticket to Monday night's card?
Absolutely. Macho Man coming back and, just the possibility that he actually will win, because like before it's, you got the monsters being fed to Lawler, and he may lose this one time, but he'll kick their ass the next week. It's really, a lot of them are predictable, but with this one, I don't know, man. Lawler broke out the good outfit and he had the good crown, and I don't know. It's a toss up. You never really know who's going to win this one.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm going to reference, there's a Matchbox 20 song that says, let's see how far we've come. Let's think about this. When we started this, we had Mike Miller as the headliner.
Yeah.
Like a guy that I had forgotten about, to be honest. But that was where we started. Now we've got the Gilberts wrestling, and they're not even the main. Like 6-7 weeks ago, they would have main evented this show, and now they're just part of the card. It's like and it's like that's big, because the Gilberts are a main event, and and you've also got new guys coming in with the Harlem Knights. You don't have the Bruise Brothers anymore. We've killed that feud off. Macho Man. You've got Scotty Flamingo coming in. I mean, it's a no-brainer that I would want to go to this show just for nothing else, Macho Man alone. But then, like, I knew who Scotty Flamingo was. I was a fan. You got the big black dog. That's, something. But yeah.
He's big, he's black, and he is mean.
Every time they say big black dog, I always stop and I'm like, what are they going to say after that? Because I ain't expecting dog. Anyways. But yeah, I mean, I would have definitely wanted to go. I would have been begging my mom for the money to buy the ticket to go.
And to add a little further context to that, not only when we started were we watching Jerry Lawler feud with Mean Mike Miller, but it was based on a snub at a New Year's Eve party that wasn't a New Year's Eve party, whatever that whole debacle was. But that was our main angle that we were basing everything around. And now we have a world heavyweight title match with Macho Man Randy Savage as our main event. Like you said, then on the undercard, a loser leaves town match with the Gilberts. And we have a middleweight heavyweight title match with Uncle Danny. What could be better than all that? So, and this show is going to be one that we look back on for a long time and be like, man, this show was a milestone. This is the show where Josh could no longer hate the Harris brothers every week, and he immediately found Big Black Dog to hate on. So kudos for immediately latching onto someone else that you absolutely can't stand, and you were able to spend a good 3 minutes describing what a piece of shit he is and how terrible he is, and his legs don't bend, and
all because of his nipples. That's it.
So
it started.
Thank you, Mystery Booker, whoever provided that for us. It is appreciated. Now, guys, we're heading down to the Mid-South Coliseum. It's March the 8th, 1993. And again, I want to point out that for weeks, the Coliseum was hovering around drawing 800 to 1,000 people with these up and down cards we were having, with the Doinks of the world coming in. And, Luger came in. It got to about 1,100. And then the Giant Gonzalez comes in, and I don't know if it's coincidental or not. We drew 3,000 people last Monday night with the Giant Gonzalez, Jerry Lawler, and Jeff Jarrett with Downtown Bruno taking on the, Bruise Brothers and Brian Christopher. This week, with Macho Man Randy Savage on top, wrestling Jerry Lawler, with Scotty Flamingo from the WCW here, with Eddie Gilbert and Doug Gilbert in a loser leave town match, we drew. Does anybody want to take a guess?
I feel like it's going to go down for whatever weird reason. We'll just say like 2,200.
I'm going to say 4,000.
1,500 people.
Wow.
Macho Man drew half the crowd Giant Gonzalez drew.
He's half the height, Gino. You're not focusing in on that.
I want to find a DeLorean, go back in time to Memphis, and go around to people's houses and just slap at least another 1,500 people that didn't show up, that showed up the week before. That pisses me off. But anyway, on to the results. So in the opening match, PG-13 defeated Hurricane Hatchet and Miss Texas when Miss Texas got pinned. In the second match, for the brand new USWA middleweight heavyweight title, Uncle Nightmare Danny Davis defeated JC Ice Jamie Dundee to win his, and we do mean his, middleweight championship.
Let that man get a car or another belt. He'll have a fucking tournament strung up real quick.
He's like, buy your own belt, Jamie. I'm taking that back to Louisville. All right. Then in the third match on the card, I'm kind of surprised at this. This is the third match on the card. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert pinned the King of Rock and Roll, Doug Gilbert, in a loser leaves town match. Doug Gilbert is leaving town, folks. In the fourth match, in a match that was billed on television simply as a grudge match, no mention of titles. Here it says, Brian Christopher and the Big Black Dog defeated the Moondogs Spot and Splat to win the USWA Tag Team Championships. In the fifth match, the USWA Southern Heavyweight Champion Jeff Jarrett pinned Scotty Flamingo to retain the title. And in the main event, for the USWA Unified World Heavyweight title, true to form, Jerry the King Lawler went to a double countout with Macho Man Randy Savage. So there you go. But to their credit, that was the only non-finish of the night. So maybe we're learning, if we look back several weeks ago when we were having, 7 matches with 5 DQs and all these non-finishes, I guess we can have one on the card. But a lot happening here in the USWA. We're having fun. I'm glad that you guys have been available to join us, Josh and Richard. It's always fun when you guys are here, and we look forward to seeing you here next week. Hey, folks, before we get out of here, I'd just like to take a moment to tell you we appreciate you checking out the podcast, and if you would, do us a favor, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you're listening to this right now, wherever you're watching it. If you'll just take a moment to either subscribe, to rate, and review, let us know what you think. We hope you're liking it, but even if you're not, let us know what you would like to see changed, and we will take that into consideration as we move forward. So we really appreciate any feedback we can get. Also, we just want to say how proud we are to be a part of the WrestleCopia brand of wrestling podcast. Ray Russell brings you something for everyone over at WrestleCopia.com. Check out all the great wrestling podcasts available over there right now. And for all things related to the Retro Wrestling Review Podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com and you can find links to everything we have there, our Facebook, our Twitter /X, our TikTok, our Instagram, our merch store. That's right. We've got shirts, we've got hats, we've got phone cases, we've got all kinds of great stuff. And it's all right there at our store. And you can find a link to it at USWApodcast.com. There's a link to the YouTube channel we're associated with, the Retro Wrestling Archive. You can find all that there. And if you have questions for us, if you saw something on the show that you have a question about or a comment about, if you've got some info to answer a question we have, or you had a question you want us to read on the air, if you want to work out an ad swap, if you want to have any kind of communication with us, you can go and send an email to USWApodcast@outlook.com, and I will get back to you just as quickly as humanly possible. And if you're a fan of Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert, and if you've heard it, I know you are, check out DougGilbertPodcast.com for all things related to Doug's podcast. You can find links to our Facebook page for the show, our Twitter. You can find links to Doug's social media, his Twitter, his Facebook. All that's available there, plus a link to the YouTube channel. And if you have a question for Doug you would like for me to ask him on the air, you can send that question to DougGilbertPodcast@outlook.com, and we will get it added, and it will get answered in a future episode just as quickly as we can work it in. So we appreciate you listening. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you here next week for more